All right, Shalom. It's the brother Kushab. Coming back at you another lesson. Now, before I get started, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who taught me this truth and rule well in peace. Blessings and salutations be to those who elect, as well as those that believe in the gospel. And may you endure to the end, Lord willing. All right. Now, today's lesson, I just want to get into you have need of patience, man. All right. And, it's good to, meditate on these things and go into them, every now and then, giving something, most brothers understand and know that there's something, that we need to have, right? But it's more of a prerequisite, all right? For those who don't really understand or know what a prerequisite is, it's basically something that you need in order to move on to the next level, right? Whether you're in school, all right, you couldn't just jump to, for brothers that went to college and, different shit, whatever, all right? You couldn't just jump from, classes that pertain to your major or what you were studying. You have to take all of the prerequisites first, right? So patience is in the same form. We can't just, jump on the chariots and, leave the planet Earth, man. All right. We have to have patience, all right, as these prophecies come into pass, all right, as things are tarrying, all right. You have to have patience and know and understand that these things actually, will come true. You see? Excuse me. It might not be, what's the song they used to sing it in church? It may not come when you want it, but it'll be right on time. Because in the Christian church, they preach, oh, he's an on-time God. Oh, yeah, he is, man. But we truly know Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. We know the type of time that he actually is on. All right? And everything is going to be done right on time as the Lord sees fit. So it's important for us to, have patience, man. All right? The Lord requires us to have patience. It's not really an option. All right? Now, all right, I'm gonna get into a few scriptures. I'm gonna get the word patient, all right, so you get some understanding. And, it's not gonna be too long and drawn out. All right, this is James chapter 5, verse 7. It says, be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth and had long patience for it. You see? He had long patience for it, man. All right? It says, excuse me. It says, until he received the early and the latter rain, be ye also patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai draw it nigh. All right, now read it in NLT. It says, dear brothers and sisters, be patient as you wait for the Lord's return. Consider the farmers who patiently wait for the rains in the fall and in the spring. They eagerly look for the valuable harvest to ripen. You see, you must too. You too must be patient and take courage, for the coming of the Lord is near. All right, so let's get this word patient. All right. This is the word patient in the online etymology, the adjective. It says capable of enduring misfortune, right? Capable of enduring misfortune. You see? You have to be capable of enduring a misfortune. Not when something happens, you say, oh, Lord, you all bent out of shape. No, man, the Lord is trying you. Why? Because you have a need of patience, all right? Patience is, something that Jake gonna have to exercise very thoroughly, all right, in the times of Jacob trouble, in the times of the MOTB, the hour of temptation, right? You're going to have to exercise patience, man, all right? You're going to have to be capable of enduring the misfortunes that we, go through now, but, on a higher level, seeing the things that we are getting ready to come into. right? It says suffering, etc., without complaint. You see? Without complaint, man. All right? As Job said, I will hold my complaint upon myself. Let me see if I can grab it real quick. The souls of the just complain continually. We cry out. But it's a difference between, crying out, complaining, saying, how long, oh Lord, and versus complaining, because you're going through shit. The Lord is trying your patience, man. It's a thin line of tread, all right? What I said, Job, complaint. I can't even see. It's like complain on myself. Yep, this is Job 10:1. It says, my soul is weary of my life. I will leave my complaint upon myself. You see? I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. So even, all the hell that Job was catching, what he did, he held this complaint upon himself, man. He was patient, right? It tells you in, I think it's James, the 4th chapter. Let me see. Is it 5 and 11? Yeah. That's crazy. I'll jump to verse 10. It says, for take my brethren, the prophets who have spoken in the name of the Lord for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience, right? So, excuse me, I keep yawning, man. Salakia. It says, and patience. In verse 11, behold, we count them happy which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, and have seen the end of the Lord, and that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy, man. All right, and we've heard the patience of Job, everything that Job went through, all the afflictions, and he still, managed to come out on top, man. All right. Why? Because he had patience, man. That's why you have to let patience have her perfect work, man. And want nothing. Let's get that in James, I believe, the 1st chapter. All right. This is, James, it's chapter 1, and I'll start at verse 2. It says, my brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. You see? So the trying of our faith, when the Lord, brings these different trials, tribulations, these things to us, it what? It worketh our patience, right? So you read in the NLT, for you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. All right, so suffering, enduring misfortune, it becomes easier, right? It says, bearing, supporting, suffering, enduring, permitting, slow to anger, self-restrained, having the temper which endures trials and provocations, man. You see? Having a temper which endures trials and provocations. You see? So you got to have patience. All right? We can't do nothing in this ministry without patience, man. You see? That's why the scriptures tell you in Sirach, the 2nd chapter, woe unto you that have lost patience, man. Oh shit. Salakia. I'm gonna get that in a second. Let's go back to this James, right? So this back in James chapter 1 and verse 4. It says, but let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire and wanting nothing, right? Now we understand that we're not gonna be perfect on this side, but patience, ultimately during the trials, tribulations, the things that we go through is ultimately going to make us what? Complete. You see? On this, as complete as the Lord, ultimately sees fit for us, man. All right? That's what the temptations and the trials and the afflictions and the suffering is for. Because, like brother said, man, if you're not going through nothing, you're not suffering right now, how in the hell are you going to get through Jacob's trouble without suffering? You know? How in the hell are you going to get through Jacob's trouble without suffering? Now. Because that's going to be a time like never, a time of suffering like never before. You know? And those sufferings now, you know, it gives us faith boosters. You know, things that we go through, we pray. You know, when you read it in the NLT in verse 4, it says, let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you see, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing, right? Because why? We're going to solely be standing on the faith that we have in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, having standed all of the trials and tribulations, all right? And, you know, Lord willing, we be the ones standing in the end, man, all right? But I think I had one more. Let me get that shit right before I forget. Yep, this is Sirach chapter 2. And I just get the point. I'll start at 12. It says, woe be the fearful hearts and faint hands, and a sinner that goeth 2 ways. Woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not, therefore shall he not be defended. And woe unto you that have lost patience. What will ye do when the Lord shall visit you? You see? So destruction unto you that have lost patience, man. Those who couldn't endure the trials, the things that the Lord, you know, saw fit for you to go through and handle up on so that you can grow in the spirit, you just said, nah, this ain't for me, all right? Well, there's going to be woe unto you, man, you know? But hey, it is what it is. This is Hebrews chapter 10. Oh. Yep, this Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 35. It says, cast not away therefore your confidence, which had a great recompense of reward. For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of the Most High, ye might receive the promise, man. Right? NLT. So do not throw away this confident trust in the Lord. Remember the great things. So like remember the great reward it brings you, right? And you know, we went into a lesson on that at camp, man, Friday, you know. Still understanding the what's at hand, all right, the reward that we have waiting on us, and all we have to do is wait and be patient and endure for it. You see, in verse 36 it says, patient endurance is what you need now, so that you will continue to do the Most High's will. You see, and that's why the Lord ultimately puts these things on us, so that what we can practice patience, man. All right, for ye have need of patience. All right, then you will receive all that he has promised. See that? So hey, man, just at the end of the day, just continue to be patient. You know, just continue to endure, continue to suffer, and at the end, as it says in 2 Corinthians 4:16, this light affliction is just for a moment, but working for us a far more exceeding and an eternal way to glory, man. All right, so you know, with that, we call Elohim La Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua B'Shem Chakodash and Shalom Barakim Allah B'Charim.